One vegetable targeted for complete eradication across the United States still provides the definitive crunch in the daily diets of over 1 billion people. In 5 years, a single floating rosette of this plant can multiply into a dense monoculture capable of suffocating an entire lake. And here is what no one mechanically dredging your local river will ever tell you. This aquatic weed is packed with potassium, rich in vitamin B6, and loaded with antioxidants. It has been used for centuries across Asia to lower blood pressure, reduce inflammation, and provide a gluten-free, low-calorie staple that survives the harshest climates. But in the United States, if you transport its sharply spiked seeds across state lines, you are violating federal and state regulations. Why would a heart-healthy, fast-growing, antioxidant-rich aquatic vegetable be classified as an ecological nightmare? That question will become very important in about 3 minutes. But first, let me show you exactly what this plant is, where it came from, and what the science says about it. The plant is called Trapa natans. In India, they call it singhara. In China, it is ling jiao. In the Western world, it is known as the European water chestnut, or the water caltrop. Do not confuse this with the canned white corms you buy in the supermarket or get in American Chinese takeout. This is something entirely different. It is an aquatic macrophyte with feathery submerged roots and a floating rosette of glossy triangular leaves. Underneath the water, it produces a hard, woody fruit with 4 vicious spines. Stand in any bustling street market in Delhi or Beijing during the autumn months, and you will see vendors selling massive piles of these dark, bat-shaped nuts. Every part of the harvest is utilized. The kernels are eaten raw for a refreshing, hydrating crunch. They are boiled and roasted as a highly popular street snack. They are dried and ground into singhara flour, a vital, nutrient-dense ingredient relied upon during religious fasting days when standard grains are strictly forbidden. In Ayurvedic medicine, it is prescribed as a powerful coolant to treat fatigue, dehydration, and inflammation. This is not a marginal novelty crop. It is a deeply ingrained nutritional safety net for hundreds of millions of people across India, China, and Southeast Asia. And almost no one in the United States knows it is completely edible. Here is what happens when you actually look at the nutrition data. Research confirms that Trapa natans is a nutritional powerhouse. A standard 100-gram serving delivers 584 milligrams of potassium. It provides essential dietary fiber that regulates digestion, all while remaining entirely fat-free and naturally gluten-free. A comprehensive study published in the Pharmacognosy Review assessing the chemical composition of Trapa natans found significant analgesic, anti-inflammatory, and antimicrobial properties. Its peels contain potent antioxidants that neutralize harmful free radicals, protecting cellular health and preventing premature aging. For comparison, a standard serving of canned water chestnuts gives you barely 200 milligrams of potassium. Raw Trapa natans delivers nearly 3 times that amount. Read that again, slowly. 3 times the heart-healthy potassium, packaged in a wild foraged kernel that costs absolutely nothing to cultivate. And unlike most vegetables that turn to mush when cooked, Trapa natans retains a distinct, satisfying crunch due to its unique ferulic acid content. It is a slow-releasing carbohydrate that stabilizes blood sugar, making it an ideal, sustaining energy source. Nature already built the perfect aquatic vegetable. Now, here is where the story becomes something different entirely. In the United States, Trapa natans is not viewed as a superfood, it is viewed as an aquatic plague. It is heavily restricted, heavily monitored, and aggressively targeted for destruction by the USDA, the Department of Environmental Conservation, and local watershed authorities. From New York to Massachusetts, millions of taxpayer dollars are spent every year trying to kill it. The New York State Department of Environmental Conservation is direct about it. Their guidance makes it clear that water chestnut forms impenetrable mats that choke lakes and slow-moving rivers. Let that land. A plant that Ayurvedic practitioners use to treat jaundice and hypertension. A plant that delivers sustained gluten-free energy to 1 billion people. That plant is public enemy number 1 in the Hudson River. And here is the part they do not explain in the eradication brochures. Water chestnut did not swim across the Atlantic. It was introduced deliberately. In 1877, it was brought into the botanical gardens at Harvard University. They recognized it as a fascinating botanical specimen. Then it escaped cultivation. By 1884, it was found aggressively multiplying in the Hudson River. Without its native insect parasites to keep it in check, the population exploded. The ecology side of the story is real. The concerns are legitimate. Trapa natans in an open American waterway is genuinely catastrophic for native ecosystems. A single rosette produces up to 15 heavily spiked seeds. Those seeds sink to the sediment and do not just sprout the next year. They can remain viable underwater for up to 12 years. You can dredge a river completely clean, and a decade later, the plant will simply return. When the plant forms its dense, floating mats, it blocks 100% of sunlight from penetrating the water. Submerged native plants cannot photosynthesize. The oxygen levels in the water plummet, creating hypoxic dead zones with dissolved oxygen dropping as low as 4.5 milligrams per litre. Sensitive fish and aquatic invertebrates suffocate. Native waterfowl find the thick, leathery leaves unpalatable. And those sharp seeds, they frequently puncture the bare feet of swimmers, making recreational beaches completely unusable. The environmental threat is undeniably real. But here is where the conventional response falls apart completely. The answer to an invasive, highly nutritious plant problem is not simply to spray it with chemical herbicides or leave it rotting on the shoreline after mechanical harvesting. Between 1982 and the late 2000s, over $8.3 million was spent just trying to control this plant in Lake Champlain alone. We are spending vast fortunes to destroy a biomass that the other half of the world considers a vital, health-sustaining food source. The scientific literature on Trapa natans is not subtle. It is a resilient, low-input crop that requires zero fertilizer, zero tilling, and zero irrigation. While we exhaust our agricultural topsoil growing high-maintenance terrestrial crops, our waterways are overflowing with a wild, antioxidant-rich carbohydrate that we simply throw away in landfills. The people who harvest it in the lakes of India or the wetlands of China are not fighting it. They are sustained by it. They have access to a crop that grows faster than almost any terrestrial vegetable, provides complex carbohydrates, packages its own antioxidants, and regrows without any agricultural intervention. That plant has been removed from the American culinary conversation almost entirely. I am not suggesting you go rogue and plant this in your local pond. Do not do that. The legal restrictions exist for a valid ecological reason. What I am pointing to is a massive blind spot in how we view our resources. A nutritionally extraordinary, medically documented, rapidly growing food source was introduced to the United States over a century ago. It thrived perfectly. It was then classified as a noxious weed because it grew too well. Federal and state agencies launched a perpetual war against it, and today, the average American only knows it as a spiky nuisance that ruins their weekend boating trip, while 1 billion people across Asia rely on it for vitality and survival tonight. The world is not short of plants that can feed us better than the crops we have chosen to industrialize. What we are short of is the willingness to look carefully at what is already growing aggressively in our own backyards before we decide it is inconvenient. Trapa natans was embraced as a gift of survival in the East. It is a description of absolute abundance. The poorest families have access to something that grows relentlessly, delivers essential minerals, and requires nothing more than shallow water to produce. 1 billion people already know this. The science already knows this. The only variable is whether we can learn to harvest our problems instead of just fighting them. If this video opened a door you did not know existed, please like it and leave a comment below with one plant you want me to go this deep on next. Subscribe to Root Vault so you do not miss the next one. There are more of these stories waiting. Most of them are growing somewhere right now unnoticed.